What's going on, guys? My name is Triforce Addiction. Welcome back to another COD mode video. So, Zombies has been out for a few days now, and I've been playing it with my friend, the fake Parker. And I think I have gathered enough information, or I guess enough experience to, give a first impressions. Of course, Zombies barely came out, and there is a chance that it could be improved in the future. But as of right now, I'm going to talk about my thoughts of it currently. So I started playing Zombies probably the moment after I got Diamond Camo on my Krig 6. Me and my friend we want to get that out of the way first before we started with Zombies. Obviously, we started on Classic mode, which is the easiest mode available right now. It goes on for just a few rounds. You don't really have to do much. But in order to, get into hardcore mode or even endless mode, you would have to do that first. So it was something that was fun for the first time. I noticed that there was like no aim assist towards the zombies, but that was probably for good reason since the headshot multiplier in Zombies is pretty high. So we ended up doing that. We got some progress towards the Zombies pass. This time around, instead of having some sort of like dark matter type of blueprint coming out, we have nuclear fallout. So I'm sure a lot of you guys are familiar with nuclear fallout. It's been in the game since year one. We've had the Man of War nuclear fallout, we had the BK-57, ICR, MW-11, and so on. But now we have other nuclear fallout weapons such as, I believe, the PDW, the Locust, the Odin, as well as the DRH. These can really all be unlocked just simply by doing the battle pass. There are some that are locked behind crates, such as the Locust and the PDW, but mainly most of them are locked just behind the battle pass. You just need to make it through the levels. So the way the battle pass works is pretty simple. It's basically the same as Undead Siege. You have to do certain tasks in order to progress within the battle pass. Some of the challenges are actually for the most part, they are pretty simple. Well, I guess the premise is pretty simple, but there are some of them that are kind of stupid in some ways, which I'll get into a little later. So a lot of the challenges are going to mainly come from hardcore and endless mode. In endless mode, they're going to require you to go through like 10 rounds, then 20, then 30, and then finally 40. So 40 is obviously the hardest one, while 10's pretty easy. 20's intermediate, it's not that hard. It can be frustrating if you don't know what you're doing, but once you get to the 30 rounds, it starts to get extremely difficult. And it's mainly just due to the fact that the zombies get far stronger than what your weapons could handle. And I say that because without the LK-24 as a crutch, or even the SKS or the ZRG, you are screwed. There is no way you're going to make it past like 30 levels. It's really that hard. Some of the guns still carry some of the traits from before with wonder weapons. The LK-24 is a shining example that you reload and then you suddenly have a lot more power, like triple the headshot damage, which is pretty helpful for later rounds, and you could actually max it out through the Pack-a-Punch. So the way the Pack-a-Punch works, obviously, kind of works like Undead Siege, where you could Pack-a-Punch your weapons multiple times for them to become even stronger. But the way that the rounds are laid out, even getting to the max level for your Pack-a-Punch weapon, it really isn't enough past 20 rounds. That's when it really starts to become far more frustrating. Look, don't get me wrong, when you make it past 20 rounds, like with, let's say, the RPD cooling compressor, I know that a lot of people have recommended that in the past, or, that's kind of like the go-to for a lot of people. Yes, it's enough to handle the zombies, just the regular zombies, but it's not really enough to handle the bigger zombies, the brutes, the fire one, as well as that avocado thing, the electric one. I don't know what it's called. So like I said, with normal zombies, it's not that hard. I mean, you could still kill them like crazy. But the real issue comes from just those bigger, bossier type of zombies, because they're just far too strong. Like throughout round 20 and above, they become outrageously strong to the point where it's going to take just countless reloads to even take one down. I know you could obviously hit in the head, and it's easy for some with, let's say the fire one and maybe even the brutes, but when you're going against the electric, boss zombies, they're far, far harder to beat. And yes, their attacks may be slow, but they pack a mean punch. It gets bad to the point where even if you're filled with level 3 armor, that is not enough to save you from one hit of those things. And keep in mind, once you get the armor, it doesn't regenerate. You have to go repair it constantly. But the thing is that it has so much damage to the point where it'll just basically pierce your armor and just completely take you down either way. With power like that, it's understandable if there were like a few of them, but you know, once you get past round 20, they start bombarding you with these guys. It'll start off with like maybe 5 of them, but then like it'll grow up to like 20, 30 of those things, and before you know it, it feels like there are more of those guys than normal zombies. And again, like I said, they have a lot of health. Even if you max out your SKS or your ZRG or even a crossbow, it is not enough. There are coins out there that can help you. There are coins that can increase your movement speed, or there's even coins that could pause the enemies for a certain amount of time. And there's even some that could actually pause them so long as you're looking at them, which is pretty cool that it does help a bit. But like they charge you a ridiculous amount after you get the first coin. Usually whenever you start the round, it charges you like 500, which is cool. But let's say you run out of that, you can't go back and get a new one unless you want to pay like 4 to 8,000 like credits or whatever the monetary thing is called. So yes, you could have like a very, very strategic team, but sometimes even that isn't really enough to save you. And keep in mind, you don't get the good stuff until like later into the battle pass. So it's safe to assume that they don't want you to finish the whole thing right away. It's kind of like Undead Siege. You couldn't finish the entire battle pass, or you couldn't do the whole ether crystal grind without waiting like maybe like 2 to 4 weeks. And look, I personally don't have a problem with that. Yeah, that's fine. But again, like I don't even know whether or not that would actually be enough, because I know Trapmaster is probably one of the more key operator skills that you can use for zombies, because it does increase LMG damage. But again, I mean, with the LK24 being so superior in terms of damage, whenever you do have that ability, it doesn't really matter. But I mean, let's say that was taken out of the game, and all you had to rely on was maybe the RPD or some other LMG to do all the heavy duty work. It wouldn't be enough to go against like all those boss zombies or even regular zombies, just in like the later modes. Like we were actually originally supposed to stop at 30, but for some reason someone didn't accept the exfil offer, so we had to wait until like round 40. Unfortunately, at round 39, that's when we lost, because we were going against those weird electric avocado things, whatever you call them, like I said. And again, they at that point they were already near invincible. It was very difficult to take them down. And by that point, one hit from them, it was over. Even with the dogs, 2 hits, that was it. So you had to deal with the dogs as well as dealing with those guys chucking those electric balls at you. And yeah, it was fucking frustrating. Your armor doesn't do anything at that point because it just breaks immediately. We did find somewhat of a method to deal with, you know, the brutes and the infernal ones, but it kind of required those the trap like that's outside of the building, you know, the one that kind of like just swings back and forth. That, you know, it does help immensely, but it doesn't help against the electric, you know, boss zombies. They could just teleport through it, so there's really nothing that you can do other than just defeat them head on. And again, they swarm you like crazy. They could teleport anywhere. They could just literally surround you and just chuck every ball that they can and just down you instantly. And you could try running away as much as you can. You could be away from your whole team at the other side of the map, but it doesn't matter. Their teleportation just spans around the whole entire thing. And sometimes it'll just be so sudden out of nowhere to the point where you're just left in a hopeless position, where you could be surrounded in a corner and there's nothing you can do about it. And keep in mind, like the zombies are, for some reason, dude, they're like brick walls. You can't go past them. Like it's like once you bump into them, like that's it. It doesn't mean you're gonna die, but you can't push them out of the way, or you can't do anything like that. And speaking about like teleportation and all that stuff, let's actually talk about the normal zombies for a bit, because the way that they come out is just so fucking illogical and so stupid at times, and it just pins you when you least expect it. And it's kind of weird at the same time because it just doesn't make any logical sense. There was a moment in time where we were like, I think in round 4, round 5, still on the second floor at the very start, And for some reason, zombies were literally spawning on the ground. And that would be normal if you were on ground level, but you were on the second floor. Like, where they spawn from? The ceiling? It didn't really make any sense because like there really can't be zombies like literally buried in the middle, like in the middle of the ceiling between the first and second floor. Like, I don't know, like the way that the zombies spawn sometimes, it just doesn't even make any sense. And you would think you have one part held down, but there'll be more zombies spawning behind you, and eventually you get surrounded and killed. And just like the bigger zombies, like the brutes and everything, they also get stronger. One hit, eventually, like half your health plus your armor is gonna go away, just with one hit. So yeah, zombies as well become extremely powerful. And like, I'm not saying making it to round 40 where like the biggest challenge is impossible. It's obviously possible. We could have done it. But the problem was that there was no cap limit for how strong the zombies can be. They're just going to progressively get stronger. I mean, you could finish these challenges from a month from now. And, if someone wants to go as high as they can to, like, just to see how far they can make it in the leaderboard, which is probably impossible because there's hackers now. How are they going to do that when the zombies are becoming infinitely stronger every single time? Eventually, like, their maxed out level 10 SKSs or RPD cooling compressors or even the LK-24 Wonder weapon maxed out won't be enough to take down a single zombie. See, and that's the problem I have. They just keep getting stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger. Like, there's really no way to counter it. And eventually it's going to become too much. Me and my team, we spent like about 2.5 hours within that single game, trying to make it to round 30, and then that whole weird thing happened where someone declined the offer to exfil, which was the goal in the first place. And then we tried to make it to round 40 because we thought round 35 would allow us to exfil again, but apparently not. So we tried that, and then we died at round 39. So we didn't get shit throughout the entire thing. We didn't get a single challenge done. And that's where one of my biggest issues comes in with zombies. Just one of the challenges. The one where you actually have to complete a game in endless mode. Basically, you have to exfil out at a certain point in time. So in round 30, that was our goal. We were supposed to make it to round 30, and then we could exfil and just leave, and then that issue happened. I don't really like a challenge like that. It's like, it basically says you have to prove that you did 31 rounds, but at the like, even if you die, it shows you how many rounds you did. So I don't see why it matters, because they have challenges for exfilling and they have challenges for just surviving 40 or 30 rounds or whatever. But like, what's the point of that? And who's to say you make it to that point where you have to exfil, and then again you have to stay in this circle while you're killing zombies, and what if you die then? Then all of it was for nothing. You wasted 2 hours of your life. And that's the crazy thing. I thought exfilling would just simply, you make the signal and then you just get out of there. But no, you literally have to be in one circle killing like a certain amount of zombies before the time runs out. If not, then you're screwed. But look, despite all these issues, it doesn't really bother me too much. I mean, eventually I'll get it done. It's just the fact that you could just spend 2 hours of your life and not get anything. And that's kind of like the reason why I didn't do Nightmare Mode in Undead Siege, because I knew that if we lost, it would be over, and I knew that how difficult that level was. You had to be at the very, very, very max level, and I did that. But I just didn't want to face that feeling of just like complete, I guess, utter self-destruction. Well, not self-destruction, what the fuck? Like, just that, I guess, that demotivation moment when you lose and after all the progress that you've made. But yeah, I mean, it's still a fun experience. You get to just bond with your friends and everything, kind of like how I did with Undead Siege. But the thing is that there's no other motivating factors to play other than just making it to the end. And once you do, zombies is pretty much going to be useless. I know you could still grind for all those other blueprints like the Locust and the PDW, but it's not really gonna matter. It's not really a skin that I consider to be good. I think the only good nuclear fallout skin I consider to be, decent is probably the Man of War, and that's because it took me actual effort. But again, there's no other motivations other than that to just play. Once I play, I'm probably never going to touch zombies again unless they update the battle pass and add more challenges. But I was kind of hoping that we would get some sort of camel challenge. I didn't really expect zombies to be like this way. I mean, I knew it was going to be somewhat similar, but just not to the same extent. And that's probably because I was hoping that zombies would come out like in a major update, or maybe a camo would come out that required us to actually be in zombies to acquire. That wasn't the case here. Of course, that could always change, but you know. So like I said, I mean, there is always a chance that a completionist camo will come to zombies. You know, we do have blistering magma in the season 10 test server, so that might have something to do with zombies, or it could have something to do with tournament mode. I'm not sure. I mean, I did see the calling card that said final tournament, so maybe they're, you know, they're taking it off and maybe applying blistering magma into zombies. I mean, you know, even the name itself kind of does match with zombies a little bit. I mean, it kind of feels that way. A lot of people have said that blistering magma might be you know, kind of like what Advanced Warfare has. They had some sort of magma camo. I did see a picture of it, but I don't really see it being the actual blistering magma. I know they said the same thing about the lightning camo for, well, which is now Red Sprite back then, but I mean, COD Mobile became creative and they made their own version of a lightning camo, and it did pretty well, to be honest. So I'm assuming that it's going to be the same case for Blistering Magma. It's going to be their own creation, not something taken from a different game. But yeah, that's my current take on zombies. It's fun, but at the same time, some of the challenges are frustrating, and if you mess up, you have to start all over again, which might take another 2 hours of your life. So yeah, I don't really find it enjoyable as of right now because there's no real motivation for me to actually play it. I only play it because my friends play it, and they like it. I mean, that's cool. But you know, I kind of wish that there was some sort of camo grind behind it. That's my core reason as to why I'm just not too overly invested into it. But here's hoping to the future. Maybe Blistering Magma will have something to do with zombies, and I'm really hoping some challenges come by because right now this game is kind of boring. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to leave a like, make sure to subscribe for some more COD Mobile content, and I'll see you guys next time.